TrueSpeech about the Pistons and how they broke Josh Smith off and how it's turning out, in the short term at least, it looked like addition by subtraction. And, the conversation got into the more broad spectrum of, dealing with some of these superstar players and their contracts and, when they're not performing up to standards, when they're not buying into the team concept, what type of position that leaves the front office in and management of the team and the coaching staff, so on and so forth. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, being that you follow the NBA closely and you have a lot of good takes on these types of situations. What do you think about the Josh Smith situation in particular, and then that 30,000-foot view as well? How do you see, this kind of evolving throughout the NBA? Do you think it takes a foothold where these coaches and GMs kind of take a stand against some of these lackluster superstar performers?
Yeah, you know what? As far as Josh Smith is concerned, keep in mind, I've had a chance to talk to him, like I'm sure you have as well, boss man, throughout the years. He's a good guy. It's not like he's a bad locker room guy or some malcontent or something. And I think, even his Pistons teammates like him. It's just that I think Josh Smith fell in love or thought that he was somebody that he wasn't when he was out there on the court, And I think he was a victim that he was a little lazy sometimes on the court, and he would take too many 3-point shots. But the whole addition by subtraction thing, I think it's warranted in his case. I never understood it to begin with why they even signed Josh Smith in Detroit when you already had some bigs up there and some guys that you were trying to develop, in the Greg Monroes and the Andre Drummonds. I just didn't understand where Josh Smith fit in to begin with. I didn't see it like as a move that was going to make the Pistons be better. And now with him being gone, I just think it's just a situation where those guys now, are just able to play and develop now without Josh Smith, out there taking all the touches and pretty much trying to do what he can. I think Josh Smith can be a winner, in the right situation. I do like him in Houston, down there with Dwight Howard, his high school buddy there, AAU teammate and everything. So, in regards to that, I think he's in a better situation now. But Detroit could be a dangerous playoff team now in the Eastern Conference. Could you say at the beginning of the year that, you thought Detroit was going to make the playoffs, especially after the way they started the season? But the way he's been winning these games lately and Brandon Jennings and the way he's been playing, I like the Pistons now. I really do. And I think they could be a problem. If they continue winning and find themselves in the playoffs, they could be a dangerous 8 seed or 7 seed in the Eastern Conference now.
You're right about that, because the Pistons are only 2 games out of the Eastern Conference playoffs. And as you stand right now in the Eastern Conference, you have 3 teams, 6, 7, 8 seeds, all under 500, with Detroit only 2 games out. And speaking of that right there, where do you see the Grizz ending up in the Western Conference? Because that Western Conference, Johnathan, is like a cannibalism. It's like, man, dog eat dog, best of the best. We all in here, the ultimate fight for that number 1 seed. The Grizz could be anywhere from 3 to 6 at any point in the season if they go on a bad streak. So looking at the way we're looking at, I think it's going to be Golden State, Portland, Grizz, Houston, the Clippers, OKC, and San Antonio being the top 8 seeds. I think Phoenix will drop off and the others will drop off as well. Who do you think the Grizz will want to play first round? So that'll be the easiest road to the NBA Finals, in your opinion.
You know what, balls in the Western Conference is really pitchy poison. I mean, it really is. There is no easy out, in the West, or a team that you think that, you would be able to beat in the first round. I think here's the thing. Here's the spectrum. The Grizz could very well win the West, or they could lose in the first round. That's just how good the Western Conference is this season. And, we always talk about the West being competitive year in, year out, but this year it's been so competitive like it never has before. Look at the Spurs. They're like a 7 seed right now. And who will actually want to play the Spurs in the first round? And watch the Grizz, just their luck, they'll probably end up being like a 2 seed and the Spurs being a 7 seed and meet them in the first round. And that's trouble for the Grizz to begin with. So, like I said, just pick your poison. Whoever you want, in the Western Conference. There's a legitimate 18, that could, you could say it could really be a threat to win the West. And I love it, but like you said, it's cannibalism. You know, the Western Conference is dog eat dog. You know, you gotta make sure you come with your A game each and every night. And like I said, you know, once the guys, you know, beat up on each other in the Western Conference, whoever come out the East, they could be all fresh and ready for who come out the West. So it's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to say somebody in the West going to win a championship this year. I think I really, really like what the Hawks are doing. You know, the jump conference on you. I think the Hawks, you know, they got proven to me in the playoffs, but, you know, with they're basically like San Antonio East right now. You know, having their coach, having all that experience with Coach Popovich down there in San Antonio. They're Spurs East right now, and why not the Hawks? You know, why not, man? I think that'd be great for Atlanta. You know, you guys can attest to that, being down there and you know, knowing the culture with the Hawks and their fan base, and them not really supporting them. Wouldn't that be like the greatest story in the world? The Hawks to come out of the East and make the NBA Finals.
I would love it. That would be the best thing ever for the city of Atlanta, and it just may increase the fan base, make them care, because as I told you on your show today, city of Atlanta are front runners. As long as you're winning, they're with you. When you start losing, they run away from you. So the only way to get the city of Atlanta interested in you and your product, and you're the Hawks, the last product in town that the people care about, it's the finals. Win a title, bring a title back to the A. Because Phillips Arena is not a better arena, y'all. It holds 19,000 people. It's very nice in there. And it's sad playing in a nice arena, and you can't get people to come out to see the game. And the Hawks tickets, believe it or not, are the cheapest in town. They're cheaper than the Braves, cheaper than the Falcons. So I would love to see the Hawks. And like you said, on the Hawks real quick, you have they to me, Johnathan and John, they're in win now mode, because Paul Millsap's a free agent at the end of the year. DeMarre Carroll's free agent at the end of the year. Then you have on the bench, you have Cephalosha come off the bench, Kent Bazemore. You have guys like Shelvin Mack. You know, the Hawks returned 12 of their 15 players from last year. John Jenkins, Mike Muscala, and Adrian Payne don't play. And Dennis Schroeder plays good too. So the Hawks can hit you from more ways than one. And like you said, Spurs East, Johnathan, they're now resting people. They're resting Kyle Korver one night, Teague one night, Al Horford another night, Paul Millsap a night. They're doing the Spurs thing now. So, like you said, Spurs East, man. Let's see the Hawks do good, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really like their chances going forward. I love the way they play. You know, like I said, there's no superstars, even though, you know, I believe your boy, he should be an all-star this year, you know, with Atlanta there. Point guard, he didn't escape me. He'll be out of
Millsap or Carroll, Korver or Teague?
Teague, I'm sorry. Yeah, just Teague, man. I'm getting old, but yeah, I think Teague should be an all-star this year, man. Like I said, no superstars down there, but they just play a great team, solid play down there.
Well, and I think that, just to expand on the comments you guys both made, not specifically about the Hawks, but, you know, we all think at the moment that the East is kind of, you know, a cream puff conference, or the weaker of the two conferences, I think, is the general consensus amongst the analysts. And now you've got these teams kind of creeping up. The Pistons are playing better. Don't think they're any threat to win the East, but it is going to make that road a little bit harder. As you alluded to, Johnathan, that the team coming out of the East, it might have a little bit a set of fresher legs, so to speak, in that NBA Finals series. So, you know, that might not hold true, because some of these teams are starting to come up a little bit, you know, starting to earn some battlefield stripes or battlefield commendations, you know, out there in the court throughout the course of the season. Might make it a little tougher on some of the big boys, quote unquote, in the East. Be interested to get your thoughts on that.
You know what? You're right about that, man. You know, you're talking about, you know, the talent in the East, even though, you know, it's a lesser of the two conferences there. It's been like that. It's like that for years now. But, you know, there's some teams in the East that can, like, make some noise. When you look past Atlanta, you know, Chicago, that was my preseason finals prediction right there. I thought Chicago would come out of the East. You got to like what the Wizards are doing as well with Bradley Beal and John Wall. They're going to be a threat. Also, Cleveland, Beckler, I don't know what to say about the Cavs right now, man. You know, I don't think anybody saw this or projected, you know, that they would be in this situation they're in right now. I know LeBron, he's been out a few games there, and they really struggle without him. But I mean, let me ask you guys: do you think they're regretting making that swap for Wiggins and Love there?
I don't think they're regretting. I still think the season's young enough that they don't need to be hitting the panic button. I mean, you got the best player in the league on your team. You've got a nice supporting cast, and we've seen when they play well and everything's clicking, they look really good. And they look really dominant. So, in my opinion, it's just a matter of kind of letting the superstar rest his legs a little bit. He's got his quote unquote knees issue. He's got a knee issue here, and he's got a little bit dinged up there. People kind of I've seen making fun of him or having fun with him on the sidelines. Calling him the GM sitting there with his big old sunglasses on. Making making moves from the sidelines when he's not in the game. But I don't think it's ready. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on it yet. But certainly there is some concern I think that needs to be brought up, and they need to take care of some things as they make their way into the stretch run, the second half of the season.
Yeah.
No doubt. And before we get to the boss report, we gotta talk to you about our Cowboys, man. Man, that call, man. That call is staying in my head. But as an analyst, I must say, DeMarco Murray's fumble, we had a touchdown in the third quarter, killer. That 4th and 1 reversal by replay, killer. It's like, to me, those were 3 instances I can point to just where it doesn't go the Cowboys' way. It wasn't their day. They had opportunities, but those 3 things right there caused the game to turn the way it turned. What is your opinion on the game itself and as a whole? How did you enjoy watching the Cowboys this season as a whole?
You know what? Before I touch on the playoff game over the game there, divisional game against the Packers, man, I thought this season, of course, nobody saw it coming. And I remember, when I came to Nashville boss and, went to the game there against the Titans, at that particular point in time, we thought the Titans, would possibly have the type of season that the Cowboys have had. Especially going into that game, nobody knew what to expect. Everybody was thinking the Titans would possibly, beat the Cowboys in that game there. But, from that point going forward, the first win of the season for the Cowboys, and fast forward to now, it was a hell of a ride. And I think the thing that you have to be most excited about is the fact that there's finally accountability. There's finally some stability, with this organization. And whoever, is making the decisions, because I think at this point, Jerry Jones is just a figurehead. He's going to be the one. He's like P. Diddy at this point. P. Diddy was never really the producer of all the great Bad Boy songs. He had a team that produced the tracks for him, but he put his name on it because he's P. Diddy. I think that's what's going on with the Cowboys right now. There's other people in the organization making all the moves, all the personnel decisions, like his son and others there. He's putting his name on it. So the fact that they finally got this thing right, that's the thing I'm most happy about. Looking forward to next year, Garrett coming back. And if Garrett comes back, then of course you want all the assistant coaches to come back, the Marinellis, the Scott Linehan, the guys that really, really, were putting in the hard work and really doing some great things, helping this team win 12 games this year. So I'm happy about that. Now, the game. The Cowboys did not lose the game on that 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter. They didn't lose the game then. When I really thought they lost the game, and you made mention to it also, that DeMarco Murray fumble. Mm-hmm. I really felt like the tide turned in. Because if he doesn't fumble that ball, Boston Beckler, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. Even though after the fumble, the Packers kicked the field goal, the Cowboys didn't come down and score again. But I just thought, like, the psyche at that point. DeMarco Murray, even though he had the most fumbles of any running back, this season, but he had gone on a stretch there, even with the broken hand and everything, where that ball was not touching the ground. He wasn't fumbling. So for him to do that in that situation, I thought just the whole psyche of the team, and the whole momentum at that point was really, really turned into the Packers' favor there.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? It's what I also said too, Johnathan, is that DeMarco Murray is fumbling, and the Cowboys' lack of pass rush and the